If you're over 60, there's a quiet habit doctors keep mentioning, not a pill, not a supplement, not anything sold in a bottle. Just one simple act, repeated daily, that's quietly rewiring the anxious mind from the inside out. Here's the truth nobody tells you about getting older: anxiety doesn't always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like restlessness at 3 a.m. Sometimes it's that tight feeling in your chest before a doctor's appointment, or the worry that creeps in when the house goes quiet. After 60, the brain changes. Hormone levels shift. Sleep gets lighter. The nervous system, which once bounced back quickly from stress, starts holding on to it longer. And for a lot of people, that means anxiety doesn't announce itself loudly, it just settles in, like a fog that never quite lifts. But here's what's fascinating. Researchers studying aging and mental health kept noticing something. The people who reported the lowest anxiety levels in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, they weren't doing anything extreme. They weren't running marathons. They weren't meditating for hours. They were doing something almost embarrassingly simple: walking. Just walking. Outside. Most days. For around 20 to 30 minutes. Now, before you think, "I already knew walking was good for me," stay with this, because the why is where it gets remarkable. When you walk, especially outdoors, your body releases a cascade of chemistry that directly targets the anxious brain. Movement increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for reasoning, perspective, and calming down the alarm system. As we age, that alarm system, called the amygdala, can become a little more sensitive, a little quicker to fire. Walking acts almost like a dimmer switch on it. It doesn't shut off your worry. It turns the volume down to something manageable. There's also this: walking rhythmically, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, has what scientists call a bilateral, repetitive effect on the nervous system. It's similar to the principle behind certain trauma therapies that use side-to-side movement to help the brain process stress. You don't need therapy equipment for this. Your own legs do it. Every single step is quietly telling your nervous system, you are safe, you are moving, you are okay. And then there's sunlight. If that walk happens outside, even better. Natural light exposure helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which in turn stabilizes serotonin and melatonin, the chemicals responsible for mood and sleep. After 60, sleep often becomes lighter and more fragmented, and poor sleep is one of the biggest hidden drivers of anxiety in older adults. So a daily walk isn't just calming you in the moment. It's resetting the internal clock that governs how anxious or peaceful you feel hours later, even while you sleep. Doctors have started calling this combination, light, movement, and rhythm, one of the most underused tools in mental health for older adults. Not because it's a secret. Because it's so simple people walk right past it. Literally. What makes this habit so powerful isn't just the chemistry, it's what happens in the mind during those minutes outside. Anxiety, at its core, often comes from a brain stuck in the future or trapped in the past. Replaying a conversation. Worrying about a diagnosis. Wondering what tomorrow holds. Walking interrupts that loop in a way few other things can, because walking demands presence. You have to notice the uneven sidewalk. The dog approaching. The car turning the corner. Your senses pull you, gently, back into right now. And anxiety has a much harder time surviving in the present moment than it does in the imagined future. There's a deeper layer here too, one that researchers have only recently started to map clearly. As people age, levels of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, tend to decline. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for brain cells. It helps neurons grow, repair, and communicate. Lower BDNF has been linked to higher rates of anxiety and depression in older adults. But here's the remarkable part: aerobic movement, even something as gentle as a brisk walk, has been shown to increase BDNF levels. Each walk becomes a small act of brain maintenance. You're not just calming yourself emotionally, you're physically nourishing the very structure your calm depends on. And it doesn't require intensity. This isn't about pushing your heart rate into some extreme zone. Doctors emphasize that for older adults, the anxiety-reducing benefit comes from consistency, not intensity. A 20-minute walk, done most days, outperforms an exhausting hour-long workout done occasionally. The nervous system responds to rhythm and repetition, the same way it learns to trust a person who shows up for you again and again. You are, in a very real sense, teaching your own body that it can trust calm to return. There's something else doctors quietly point to, something less clinical but just as real: walking breaks isolation. After 60, especially after retirement, after children move away, after the loss of a spouse or close friends, loneliness becomes one of the loudest contributors to anxiety. A daily walk, past a neighbor, a familiar shopkeeper, a dog being walked by someone else, a wave from across the street, rebuilds small threads of connection. Doctors have started recognizing that those tiny, seemingly unimportant human moments do something medication never quite can. They remind the brain, you belong here. You are still part of something. It also helps to understand what walking does to cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. In younger adults, cortisol tends to spike and settle quickly. But as we age, that recovery process slows. Stress lingers longer in the bloodstream. Daily movement has been shown to help cortisol return to baseline faster, almost like training the body to let go of tension instead of holding it. Picture cortisol like static building up in a room. Walking acts as the open window, letting it drift back out. None of this requires a gym membership, fancy shoes, or a doctor's prescription. It requires getting up, stepping outside, and letting your legs do what they've always known how to do. For some, that walk becomes the most peaceful part of their entire day, not because anything dramatic happens, but because, for those 20 minutes, the mind finally exhales. And maybe that's the most human part of this whole discovery. We spend so much energy searching for complicated solutions to anxiety, new medications, new therapies, new routines, when the body has been quietly offering one of the most effective tools all along. One foot in front of the other. Outside, in the light, at your own pace. Doctors aren't suggesting walking replaces real medical care when anxiety becomes severe or persistent. That conversation always belongs with a professional who knows your history, your medications, your story. This isn't about replacing treatment. It's about giving the body a daily ally, something it can lean on between appointments, between hard days, between the moments when life feels heavier than usual. Think about what's actually happening here. As a daily companion, as a steady, low-cost, side-effect-free habit, walking calms the nervous system. It strengthens the brain by feeding it the very protein it needs to repair and grow. It regulates hormones that, left unchecked, quietly fuel anxious feelings for hours. And maybe most importantly, it gently pulls a person back into connection with the world around them, the neighbor who waves, the bird that lands nearby, the simple proof that the world is still moving and you're still part of it. This habit has earned its place at the center of healthy aging, not because it's flashy, but because it's faithful. It shows up the same way every single day, asking nothing of you except a few minutes and a little willingness. So if you're over 60, and the worry has been sitting a little heavier lately, consider this an invitation, not a demand. Tomorrow morning, or even later today, step outside. No goal. No pressure. No need to walk far or fast. Just enough to feel the air on your skin, hear your own footsteps on the pavement, and give your mind a moment to remember what stillness actually feels like. Because sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't something you take. It's something you do, quietly, daily, and on your own 2 feet. It doesn't ask for money. It doesn't come with side effects. It only asks that you show up for yourself, one small walk at a time. If this resonated with you, or with someone you love who's navigating this season of life, give it a like. It genuinely helps more people find this video. Drop a comment and tell us, do you already take a daily walk, or is this the nudge you needed today? And if you know someone over 60 who could use a little calm right now, share this with them. It might be exactly what they needed to hear.